How can all of these people, right, so-called economists too, a lot of these guys got PhDs in economics, looking at this data and just assuming that it's all just transitory, it's all just related to COVID, and completely ignore the massive money printing, all this deficit spending, all this money that's being printed, and just assume it's irrelevant, that it has absolutely no impact on prices, right? If this really were true, if you really could print as much money as you wanted and it wouldn't affect prices, well, then print even more. Why not make everybody rich? Give everybody $1 million and then we can all be rich and we can all buy stuff. Well, the reason you can't do that is because you can't buy stuff that hasn't been produced. So if you just give people more money and there's no more stuff to buy, then the only thing that can happen is the price of that stuff has to go up. And that's exactly what we're experiencing now. The government has given everybody a bunch of money to buy the stuff that's there. And so the stuff that's there has to go up in price because there's no more stuff to buy. All money does is allow you to allocate the goods and services that have already been produced. And so the more money that there is in circulation, the higher the prices for the goods and services in order to balance out the economy. Everything has to equal. Consumption can't exceed production. And so the way you work it out is price. The more money there is in circulation, the higher prices have to be. But why nobody can seem to make this connection, it is absolutely ridiculous. And to me, it just seems like it's almost like a conspiracy between the media and the government to push this false narrative to get consumers, to get investors to actually believe something so completely ridiculous. To me, it made me think of, a kid that's coming home with a bad report card, trying to convince his parents that it's really not as bad as the report card reads. I mean, let's say a kid's coming home and he's got 5 D's and 1 B, right? He's got this horrible report card, yet he's trying to explain to his parents, why it's really not that bad. And so let's say, he's got a D in English and a D in math and 1 in science, a D in history and maybe foreign language. He's got a D in French. He's got all these Ds. And he's explaining like, well, I really shouldn't have got a D here. And, oh, my teacher this. And, well, happened this. And he's got some real clever excuse about why he got such a bad grade in every one of these classes. Then, of course, he has 1 B in physical education, right? And he said, that's the one that counts, So just forget about all those D's. In fact, I really should have got an A in PE. I mean, I don't even know. It shouldn't even be a B. It should have been an A. So in reality, I basically got straight A's on this report card. Just ignore all these D's and just, I got all A's basically. And the parents actually buying this BS from the kid who's trying to rationalize his horrible report card. That's really what we've got. If you look at the CPI as a report card, not just a report card on the government, but more importantly, it's a report card on the Fed, right? Because the Fed's mandate is low inflation, right? It claims that its mandate is 2% inflation. Well, if it's 6% inflation, that's not just a D. The Fed is failing monetary policy. The Fed has got an F, and it's trying to convince investors and the public that it's really got an A. And the way it's doing that is by claiming, well, it's all transitory. So you can throw out car prices, you can throw out hotels, airlines, food, transportation, energy. Just throw all this stuff out. And here's one thing that didn't go up. Just focus on that, and we've got an A. The other subject, too, that the Fed is flunking is its balance sheet, right? It's got an F there, too. If you look at the numbers now, the Fed's balance sheet is now $8 trillion, right? That's double the size it swelled to following the 2008 financial crisis, really before they started to do the taper. $8 trillion. The Fed is failing balance sheet 101, right? You don't want your balance sheet to be $8 trillion, especially since, remember back in the day when the Fed said they were going to shrink their balance sheet? That was their goal when it was $4 trillion. They were initially supposed to shrink the balance sheet back down to where it was pre-2008 financial crisis levels, which was below $1 trillion. So their goal was to be below $1 trillion, and now they're at $8 trillion and rising. So there's another F.
The Peter Schiff Show.